Well, it's funny how this happens, isn't it? So, we get used equipment, no complaints there, it was given to us. Of course, there's no warranty on this thing, so who the hell is going to care about that? You're not going to get any support out of the company, in part because the company doesn't exist anymore. And so what's happened? Well, within a couple of days of operating the unit, I've run into problems already. One of these units have already developed a fault where the mode selector switch has flaked out on me. And I'm fighting with that one right now to make sure it doesn't go screwy on me. But this one here has an even bigger problem. Okay, who here knows what disk sessioning is? Basically, in a nutshell, for those folks who have used DVD video recorders or DVD camcorders, when you record a video, it is being written to the disk, but it's unformatted. It's not really defined data yet. It's something, but that's all it is, and that makes it easy to start and stop your video recordings. And if you take that disk and you put it into a computer, it's not going to see anything. It'll just see a blank disk. What you have to do is you have to close the session on the disk. And by closing the session, it then defines what the data is, where it starts, where it ends, what file type it is, all that jazz. And then you can see it. The QuickCapture A2D does the exact same thing. And I'd already done several videos on this one here already. And there's one session that I've already closed, and then I did a couple of others. And they worked fine. I stopped the recording, shut everything down, and went away for 2 days. Came back today, and this one here came up in VTR mode as error file system. Great, so something happened. But I was still able to go into hard disk mode and say, well, the stuff I'd already done in a closed session was already there, so the disk had not failed, but this undefined data, which I had already created for several videos, had gotten corrupt, and it wouldn't let me clear it. So, I don't know, what can we format the drive? Switch over to hard disk mode, try and format it. It wants FAT32. Windows in modern times, when it sees large volumes, only gives you NTFS, exFAT. Not really what I wanted here. So I could not get Windows to behave for me at all. So we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way, and we're going to have to pull the drive out of here, put it into another computer, format it. I want to verify that the actual disk itself is good, and if we're lucky, it'll start working again. Now, we just talked about the Archos media player, where the hard drives are serialized, they're somewhat proprietary, and if we nuke that drive, we're screwed. But in this case here, we really have nowhere to go. I can't write any new data to it, I can't reset it, I can't initialize it. So, for the sake of a video, let's pull this apart, and maybe we'll fix it. So, I'm going to need some tools, and I've already rounded those up over here. And in the meantime, we have 2 screws here, 2 screws there. I don't need to worry about any of the screws on the top here. So let's get 1, 2. Can I put these? We'll put them there for now. Good. And 4. You can tell I've already opened one of these before. I was curious. And so this now comes off. I have the wiring for the Anton Bauer bracket I have to watch out for. And I have this here. This is the actual AD board for the analog side of the video capture. But release that one tab, and we'll push that off to the side. And then 4 more screws. I had a couple people asking exactly just how buried the hard disk was inside of this unit, so you're going to get a chance to see it here pretty quickly. And lift that up. And this is the A2D board here. Yeah, nothing overly impressive, bit of memory. It's your usual analog capture board. But the hard drive is right there. So this is a standard 44-pin laptop hard drive. This is rated for 40 gigabytes. This one here is made by Fujitsu model MHT240 or 2040AT. It's held in from the bottom, so we still have to pull this out to get in there. And I have these 4 studs on this. So I'm just going to loosen that. Actually, I'll loosen, and sometimes you can go with a smaller screwdriver and just ram that down there, and that gets them out pretty quickly. I should really be separating these. Hold on. There. 2, 3, 4, and then this comes out with a little bit of a fight. Oh, and there's a ribbon right there, so I'm just gonna pull that out. All right, so on the other side of the board here, we do have this module, which apparently seems to be the entire recording unit itself, an Altera chipset and a few other odds and ends and some memory. I believe the firmware is also stored on here as well, so that may mean the firmware and nothing system related to make it work is on the hard drive, which would be great, because if you just got to format this thing FAT32 again and drop it back in, it should reinitialize no problem. But I'm after these 2 screws right here. Come on, there we go. And there's spacers that are hiding down in here as well, and I want to hold on to those. And they seem to be pretty well captive at the moment. Alright, and I'm just going to pull the drive out, and here we have it. This is the 40 gig hard drive that's giving us problems. Now, again, I'm able to read from this thing here. I was able to dump the video that I had already finalized. Unfortunately, there was at least 2 other videos where I've lost camera 3. Great. Well, let's see if I can salvage those. I might even have to go and retake them, which won't be fun. And let's drop this into a laptop. Now, my choice for a laptop here is a little strange. I wouldn't say my methods are unconventional. I am using the IBM ThinkPad 380XD. This is a Pentium 2 laptop? No, it's a Pentium 1 laptop. But the big thing about it is that it has its hard drive bay right here. So I can just slide that out, grab the current hard disk, and pull it out. And now, because these are pinned the exact same way and alignment's the same, I should be able to, without a sled, very carefully drop that into place. And now I'll format the drive. Is there a way I can do this so you can see me? Working with only 2 cameras on this one here is not working out all that well. Let me just move this here. Let me see if I can get it to this camera up here. Oh, and go figure, there's my 161 error. So it has a dead real CMOS battery. Shut up. Yeah, I don't care. Let's just quickly set the date to something that doesn't matter. There we go. For booting, I'm going to use the floppy disk for Microsoft Windows 98 2nd edition, because I know this will let me format to FAT32. And I'll put that in. And I'll give it a moment here to boot. There we go. And just to verify that the file system on this is valid FAT32, there it is, primary DOS. No volume label, megabytes, 38154, but it is FAT32. Good. Total disk space is 8,055 megabytes. So it is having a bug right there regarding large capacities over 8 gigabytes. But we'll force this with FAT32 and we'll see what it does. Can I see it? Oh. I can see it. No label. Volume serial number is 00000000. There's nothing else on it, so I'm going to go... proceed with format. And I'm just going to leave it here for a couple of minutes to go and do its thing. And 99%. That didn't take that long, did it? Free space calculations. Enter volume label. Nothing. Total space. Blah, blah, blah. Didn't find any bad sectors, so what exactly caused it to go corrupt? I don't know. Let's run ScanDisk and see what happens. That, I guarantee, is going to take a while, but we'll see. Cannot read from the latest cluster, from the last cluster on drive C. This cluster is either damaged or your system is not configured properly. Type for this check for your computer's BIOS and contact computer's map. Huh, that's interesting. So it doesn't like something about this drive. Well, it's a formatted drive. At this point here, if there was anything on the drive, it's gone now. Let's see what happens. And it's configured improperly and scanning may report and repair errors incorrectly. Well, this is a ThinkPad. I can't adjust that in this version of the ThinkPad. So, do you want to continue? Yeah, I'm sure it's configured. Good so far. And free space. And a surface scan. Okay, so I didn't find anything immediately wrong with the blank drive. Now it's going to do the surface scan thing here. What this is simply going to do is it just double checks each cluster on the drive. And if it finds anything, it'll mark it bad. Maybe there's something there. There's something obviously going on at the end of the disk that's bad. I'm going to leave this thing alone, and we're going to see exactly what the hell it does. So we'll get back to that one. That's going to take a while, I guarantee you. All right. Looks like we have come across a bunch of bad clusters. I can't say sectors, just clusters here. So it's a good thing that we did do ScanDisk and do the surface scan here, because it's finding something indeed bad with the drive. Okay, so now my suspicion is here, were these previously marked bad, or did these develop as bad, and because we were basically writing data over this, that's what caused the corruption? Incidentally, what I did here between video cuts and transitions is I've actually gone and I restarted ScanDisk to this point, because right now we're at 32. I think it's going to go to 33. Goes to 33. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of bad clusters here, and each time it finds one, I got to say yes. So I just said basically mark them as bad and continue onwards. I'm going to leave this scanning here until the very end, and we'll see exactly just what's happening here. Now, remember, we also saw that little error right at the beginning there, just as we started the format. It could also be that it's hit a spot where it no longer knows via, I don't know, LBA translation or just in the BIOS on translation after a certain limit how things are supposed to be. So it could be quite simply we hit that and now it's just finding like garbage. So I don't know. It could be that. It could also just be the drive's firmware is different, because for these A2D boxes it's something special, because we still haven't ruled that one out. But we'll leave this alone and we'll see what happens, and we'll get back to it again in a little while. You know, what I think is happening here, if we assume that each cluster is 32K, and this started happening around cluster 256,000, that puts us right in the 8 GB range. I think we are actually coming up against that limitation. So that's a fault of the laptop itself being too old to test a hard drive this large. So we're going to have to try another laptop. Well, thankfully I do have something like that. I have a ThinkPad T30 that's on standby. So I'm just going to pull the drive out of this. We're going to throw it into this one here, and we'll get rid of that. Okay, floppy disk goes out. Carefully remove this using the proper tools. There we go. I'm going to put the original drive back in and clip that and get rid of that. And in comes our handy dandy ThinkPad T30. I used to use this thing until not that long ago when I finally got myself an X60. There we go, same thing as before. Drive just comes out. What is the original drive in this? 40 gigs, so pretty much the same thing. Guaranteed. And carefully drop that in there. And I have installed in this T30 the 3.5-inch floppy Ultra Bay. Let's see if I can get this lined up again. I'm going to put the diskette into the side of it. We'll try again. All right, so do we see the C drive? We do. Blah, blah, blah. Serial number's still that. Da, 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 da. All right, well, you know what? Since we now know that using the older ThinkPad was causing problems with ScanDisk, maybe the formatting's a bit screwy as well. So I'm going to reformat it again. We're still using the same Windows 98 bootable floppy disks, so that should all be the same. And yeah. Checking existing disk format, and off it goes. Now, I'd like to point out for you guys here, this is only taking a couple minutes, but I'm actually having to do cuts here. This has been taking quite a while for me to do. Thankfully, I have other things to do in my day. But we'll let this format away, and we'll try ScanDisk again. Okay, well, the format finished there, so let's try this. Surface. So this should specify automatically fix any errors it finds. Don't save any lost clusters. It finds. It's a formatted disk. It shouldn't find anything. And to do the surface scan. Let's see if that error pops up, by the way. So I'm going to hit enter on that. And it didn't give that error. That's a good sign. And there we go. Okay, and off it goes. So let's see what happens. Now, it didn't give any errors, so I have a good feeling it's going to be fine now. We'll see. Fast forward. Well, there we go. We're pretty much at the very end of the drive here. There's about another 11,000 clusters left for it to check, and it's doing that pretty quickly here. So we've now, well, it formats fine to FAT32. The surface scan's going to come by clean, but we still haven't actually confirmed whether or not we've lost anything. Remember what the initial problem is. It got corrupted somehow, gave a file system error. I couldn't do anything with it. The assumption here is that just by formatting it, we can initialize it back to a working state again. And hopefully we aren't going to deal with like weird firmware or something that was hidden on the drive I never saw and completely wiped out. Great. Almost done here. 219, 220, 3, 4, 5, and there we go. ScanDisk did not find any problems on drive C. So this drive is perfectly immaculate. It wasn't some sort of physical failure with the drive that caused the corruption. All right, I have no idea what the hell caused it to die. Oh wait, exit, let's get out of here. So we know the drive's good. One last check on that. Yeah, ScanDisk.log, whatever. So what I am going to do here, no, I want you to die. Okay, there, fine. Everything's off there. Good, handy. Let's turn this off, and we'll put it back together. There we go. Floppy goes out. Laptop closes. And drive comes back out. Okay. So where were we? Right. So we had this Little mess right here. What you actually see, well, oh yeah. One of those little tiny metal pieces fell out. You know what? Screw it. Let's just take the other one out for now. So you can see what I'm doing here. There's the ROM for the system, for this right here. I'm assuming that's the disk controller right here. And just power supply hanging out over here. But I'm just going to plug that in like so. Flip it over. Metal rivet or spacer, whatever you want to call it. That goes there. One. Oh, and I dropped a screw. Where'd it go? There it is. Can't get it. So we'll put that back in there as well. And this is the ribbon cable I was talking about before here. So I'm going to, where are you? Over here. Give me a sec. Really not a lot of space to work here, so I'm just going to have to carefully put it into the connector. Lock it down. There we go. And drop that in through there. Nope, it's just sitting on there. Okay. And then these go in again. Installation is reverse as removal. There you go. There you go. There's that. And I'll put that in first. And I'll tighten. I'll put the screws in. Clip up, ribbon cable in and down. And then our 4 screws go back into the side of the unit. This is also the point here where I'd like to point out, you really want to hope that everything's properly plugged in and everything's working, because you just saw how much time it took to take this apart and put it back together. I don't want to do it again. Plus also there's those fragile little connectors there for the ribbon cables I don't want to break. All right, and do I have myself a power cable? 12 volts DC. Make sure I'm in the off position. Plug it in, and it wouldn't work in VTR before. Let me zoom in here. So, switch it to VTR, backlight. You can feel it spin up, and there you go. Error file system, press record and play. Now, previously, that didn't work. Does it still work now? Oh, hey, look, it works. Come on. Eh? Look at that. So really all it needed was a format. It didn't complain about anything that was on the drive that was lost, so I guess in this case here, unless it's matching the serial number. Actually, no, it can't. Remember, the volume serial number was 000000. Well, I guess that's easy enough to fake, so maybe you can swap in any hard disk into these nNovia units, and it doesn't care as long as you format it to FAT32, and it's FAT32 compliant. And for this one here, we've verified that the surface of the disk is physically okay. So I guess in future we've learned two things. One, when we close a session on this or finish a video, we should be closing the sessions, because if there ever is a corruption issue, when we power cycle or something happens to the drive, the closed session files are still accessible. But the stuff which is still open session, we lose. Well, that's something new to learn. And, well, looks like I'm already having to go back on my word saying these things are going to be hopefully quite reliable. They're not. But then again, they're used. I'm still thankful for the Hackery for making this possible. Well, that's all there is to it. We have it back together. It's working. We have 3 cameras again. And until next time, have a good one.